Really, the whole idea of boosters being able to contribute money to collectives and really which establishes a sort of pay-for-play model, which I don't think is in the best interest of college athletics in the future, nor the participants.
Going with our agency, Everett Sports Management, they've been proactive in getting us long-term deals and equity within those deals. Some of the deals, we were the first 2 female athletes to sign with Champs. We created a energy drink with Bucked Up. We have equity in Soul Juice. We also have an NIL fund for female athletes in there to support them in other colleges. And then we have equity as well in Better Media, along with other long-term partnerships.
How much did the current chaos and state of the law contribute to your decision to retire now?
All the things that I believed in for all these years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exist in college athletics.
If you aren't playing women's basketball, or let's say you're gymnastics, and you don't want to go professional, being able to profit and make as much money as you can in college and be able to create a brand and set yourself up for future, I think is very, very important.
I coached in the NFL. Wherever we played, we had to file a tax return because we earned money in that place. Well, we're going to have college student athletes do that.
Great philosopher Yoda. I said, "Sweetheart, I love you, but we will throw you out of the truck." Let's start with the legendary coach Nick Saban, former head coach of the University of Alabama. Coach, you've had an extraordinary career, far too often beating Texas teams. I resent you for that deeply, but you did a damn good job of it. But we enjoyed any time we won. So with that, Coach, you have the floor.
You got us last year, so you can be happy about that. But Senator Cruz, Senator Tillis, Senator Moran, certainly appreciate the opportunity and all the other distinguished guests here to be here, having been involved in college athletics for 54 years, kind of know the state of where we are and what we're doing and what the issues are and how it works, and certainly would like to do anything that I can, even in retirement, to try to help people find a better path for us in the future. So the issue here for me is not really name, image, and likeness. I think that's a great concept for young people. It's also something that we tried to promote when we recruited guys. It was academic support. It was create a brand for yourself. It was, see if you can create a career as a football player. So all those things are very, very important, and name, image, and likeness gives that an opportunity. But really, the whole idea of boosters being able to contribute money to collectives and really which establishes a sort of pay-for-play model, which I don't think is in the best interest of college athletics in the future, nor the participants, the student athletes themselves. Doesn't enhance them creating value for their future like, we all were dedicated to for many, many years to try to help young people be more successful in life, because you're actually going to college to create value for your future, not necessarily see how much money you can make while you're going to college. So I certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I hope we've got some great people here that can provide some resources that gives us a clear path in the future of how we can continue to make college athletics something that creates a lot of opportunity for a lot of people to have a chance to be successful.
Next up is Haley Cavinder, whom I'm very happy to now welcome to Texas and look forward to your career at TCU. Ms. Cavinder, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you. Hanna, you want to join in? Yeah, I'll probably just join with her if that's okay.
That works.
Gotcha. Thank you. I'm Haley Cavinder. I'm Hanna Cavinder. I'm her twin sister. And we're also known as the Cavinder twins in the social media space and athletic space. We are 2 women's college basketball players. First, we want to thank you and all the other senators for having us here. It's an honor and privilege to represent the student athletes. We were some of the first athletes, male or female, to get a deal in New York City on July 1st. And it was awesome to see what NIL kind of did to us for now. After that deal, we played basketball at Fresno State for 3 years, and then we transferred and went to the University of Miami to continue our basketball careers there and get to the March Madness tournament. So over the years, we built a brand and business. It all started with our attorney, Darren Heitner, actually being able to get protection, and then going with our agency, Everett Sports Management. They've been proactive in getting us long-term deals and equity within those deals. some of the deals, we were the first 2 female athletes to sign with Champs. We created a energy drink with Bucked Up. We have equity in Soul Juice. We also have an NIL fund for female athletes in there to support them in other colleges. And then we have equity as well in Better Media, along with other long-term partnerships. Throughout these years of with NIL passing, we've learned tremendously how to invest our money, build connections, have multiple revenue streams through NIL, and the position it has put Hanna and I in today has completely changed our lives. So it's an honor to be able to represent all the student athletes and how passionate we are about name, image, and likeness. Following Haley, we would just never envision ourselves building relationships like we have or having opportunities like we have today to be able to speak in front of all you due to NIL passing. So it's a privilege to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
I'd love to hear from Coach and from Mr. Byrne. Basically, on the front lines, you've gone through it. So how do y'all look at it? Nick, what do you think, buddy?
We know, but basically, I always did what I did as a coach.
Turn your microphone, brother.
People be more successful in life. So you're trying to develop value-based system, just like a value-based business, that would create opportunities for young people to be more successful. So this started with personal development. It started with academic support to make sure guys graduated and prepared themselves for when they couldn't play football. And also the whole concept of branding and making sure you had an image out there that was going to be something that would be enhance your chances of being successful and create opportunities for your future, and see if you can develop a career as a football player. Now, what we've done between freedom to transfer and creating a free agency system where guys can transfer whenever they want to transfer, and the whole idea that we've created a pay-for-play sort of model in college athletics have created some issues in being able to actually have a program and a system that would enhance those very values that I just talked about. And how does this even impact other sports relative to Title IX, relative to non-revenue sports? And how do we continue to create some kind of a model moving forward where we do improve the quality of life of the student athlete, but create some kind of a balance in terms of competitive balance, which all venues have, some guidelines and rules that create some kind of competitive balance, which right now we don't have in college athletics. It's whoever wants to pay the most money, raise the most money, buy the most players is going to have the best opportunity to win. I don't think that's the spirit of college athletics. I don't think it's ever been the spirit of what we want college athletics to be. So that's my major concern, the combination of pay for play, free agency, and how that impacts development. And I can attest that I've had 2 NFL coaches tell me, and this is a football deal because they're concerned about the football part, that the players come to them less developed, with more entitlements and less resiliency to overcome adversity. And these are concerns that they have even in their football development. Well, if that's true in their football development, is that true in other parts of their development, whether it's academics or personal development? And each time you transfer, you minimize your chances of graduating by probably about 20%. Now we have guys transferring 2 or 3 times. So some of the goals and objectives of what we've worked so hard for the last 20 years to improve graduation rate, to improve health care for players, to have mental health care for players, all the things that we work so hard to improve on, we're going to start seeing slide in the wrong direction because we've created an environment that really does not promote personal development or that is going to create success for their future.
You know, one question I have to ask. You just retired from a amazingly and historically significant coaching career. How much did the current chaos and state of the law contribute to your decision to retire now?
Well, all the things that I believed in for all these years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exist in college athletics. So it's always was about developing players. It was always about helping people be more successful in life. My wife even said to me, we'd have all the recruits over on Sunday with their parents for breakfast. And she would always meet with the mothers and talk about how she was going to help and impact their sons and how they would be well taken care of. And she came to me, like right before I retired and said, why are we doing this? And I said, what do you mean? She said, all they care about is how much you're going to pay them. They don't care about how you're going to develop them, which is all what we've always done. So why are we doing this? So, to me, that was sort of a red alert that we really are creating a circumstance here that is not beneficial to the development of young people, which is why I always did what I did. My dad did it. I did it. And that's the reason that I always like college athletics more than the NFL, is because you had the opportunity to develop young people. So, and I want their quality of life to be good. I think, as I said before, name, image, and likeness is a great opportunity for them to create a brand for themselves. I'm not against that at all. But to come up with some kind of a system that still can help the development of young people, I think, is paramount to the future of college athletics.
That lack of specificity and clarity from the NCAA and how that affects college athletes.
Well, I don't think there's any question about the fact that the NCAA has had a very difficult run here the last 5 or 6 years especially. They couldn't enforce their own rules because of litigation. And that in and of itself, I think, put them in a really, really difficult circumstance. And I don't think they manage it very well. So I don't disagree with some of the comments that you made about how they've handled certain situations. But I also think they've been put into a difficult circumstance themselves because of not being able to enforce their own rules, because of a lot of the litigation that has come up in the court system that has sort of made it impossible for them to do that.
You have the National Labor Relations Board related to student athletes, whether they're students, whether they're employees, whether they're independent contractors, and the tax and labor issues that we're starting to see come along with that through the collectives and such, where they're independent contractors, and the tax responsibilities that are coming for the families and the complications that come with that. The transfer portal has been another significant issue. When Coach Saban retired, we obviously didn't want him to retire, but when that time came, during that time that we were out searching for our new coach, a lot of what our focus was back in our department was roster retention and trying to communicate to our student athletes that are there that the standard that Coach set was not going to change in our support of our student athletes across the board. So the transfer portal and the complications that have come with that are very, very significant.
I think back, having worked with many agents throughout my career in athletes, you have the Federal Trade Commission that has actually been responsible for enforcing something called the Sports Agent Responsibility and Trust Act, and has not once enforced that law. And so I don't trust, whether it be the FTC or another branch of government, to now take on more of a burden, which it is a big burden to now control and monitor whatever it is that Congress may pass. So I think leaving it in the hands of the NCAA would be preferable to adding additional government involvement.
As it relates to Mr. Heitner's comment about less government involvement, I agree, and I think the NCAA is suited to do that, but they're paralyzed right now because of the lawsuits that have occurred, because of some of the recent legal cases. So I would like for that to be reaffirmed at some point, but until we get some help here, I think it's going to be difficult.
Can you give examples of the types of sports that could potentially be on the chopping block if you had to pay athletes as employees? What would be the non-revenue sports that not necessarily just Alabama, but that universities would think seriously about eliminating?
Yeah, and Senator, obviously at the University of Alabama, we don't ever want to do that. However, if college athletics is important at the University of Alabama. We think it's an important part. We look at the growth since Coach Saban showed up in town over 17 years ago of our university, of our athletic department, of our community, the way we can support our student athletes collectively across the board. But it's the Olympic sports that would be in jeopardy, and that's men and women.
Do y'all want to be employees? Does that sound like a good idea, or what are your thoughts?
I would say I stand on whether that there should be no limitations within athletes. I don't necessarily have an opinion on if they should be employees or not. I think that that is kind of up in the air still, and I'm just a firm believer that there should be no limitations regarding the student athlete. Kind of how Mr. Phillips was touching on the benefits, Title IX, cost of living, etc. I think that if those benefits were taken away, if college athletes became employees, and if one college athlete is an employee, then that makes all of us. I think there would be some type of limitation when it comes to being a student athlete, but I'm not very sure.
Coach, what are your thoughts on these questions?
Well, first of all, the whole agency who runs college athletics, I think that an independent agency outside the government could do it, but I also think the government's got to set the guidelines so that that institution can run it with some protection from litigation. On the whole employee thing, you know, the press, who I love and has always been one of my greatest allies for years.
I will point out those are words that have never been said in this room.
Sort of, you know, painted me as somebody who said, I think that college athletes should be employees. What I referenced is I think the system that we have in the NFL where players are employees would be better than the system that we have now, because at least it creates competitive parity in terms of everybody gets to draft relative to one loss. Schedule is based on one loss. Players, agents are controlled by the Players Association. So there was a lot of good things about that. But that really wasn't the point I was trying to make. The point that I was really making, and made it, but it never got printed, was that I don't think that college athletics is really a business. You know, college athletics is revenue producing, and that revenue is reinvested in all athletic programs across the board. So, you know, we're hearing these figures about how much revenue football creates and basketball, men's basketball creates, but that's all reinvested in the student athlete, and it's reinvested in opportunities for sports for other students to be able to participate in and compete in. So Wayne Huizenga owned the Miami Dolphins when I was the head coach there, and he was a great man. He was in business. You know, he made money every year. He paid so much for the team. He made the team better and sold it for more than he paid for it. So that's business. Nobody takes a profit in college athletics. So, but at the same time, I'm for student athletes being able to share in some of this revenue. And I think the number one solution to all this is if we could have some kind of a revenue sharing proposition that did not make student athletes employees. You know, I've heard people talk about if you're a music student and you write a piece of music and you do it in a class and you do it with a professor, and you can get reimbursed for that and make money, but not necessarily be an employee. So I think that may be the long-term solution. I think you could create a better quality of life for student athletes. You could still emphasize development, personal, academic, brand, and athletic development with a system like that. And it would be equal in all institutions. In other words, you know, somebody couldn't go out and raise more money at one school to create a competitive advantage from another. And boosters could then channel their resources back into the institution rather than into a collective, which makes it tax deductible, which makes it more beneficial for the institution and the athletic department in so many ways to provide the resources that we want to provide to student athletes. So I don't want them to be employees, but I want them to share in the revenue some kind of way.
So I'll note Senator Blumenthal has joined us now. Coach, I would love for you to elaborate on something you made reference to. What is the difference from the perspective of an athlete of being a college football player versus playing in the NFL? How are those different, and why do those differences matter?
Well, I think the biggest thing is what we always tried to emphasize to our players, and they all bought into it, and it was beneficial to a large degree based on our graduation rate and how many players had opportunities to play in the NFL, is, first of all, you're going to college to create value for your future. So you're really going to college to prepare yourself for the day you can't play football. In the meantime, so that makes academics really important. But in the meantime, we also want to try to help you develop a career as a football player. So what are your goals and aspirations for what you want to accomplish, and what does that entail? What do you have to do to be able to create this opportunity for your future? And I would have guys define that and try to help them. I try to provide the leadership, the discipline, the perseverance, the pride and performance, and all those things that it takes to have a player reach his full potential so he would have an opportunity to play at the next level. But playing in the NFL there was a spirit in college athletics which I think has always been great. I mean, fantastic in terms of the self-gratification and the feedback that not only I got from seeing players develop, but what happened, how the players felt about themselves as they developed. So to keep that spirit intact, I think, is very, very important. In the NFL, I don't want to use the term players play for money. And the longer they can play and the more money they can make, the more beneficial they are. So they love their coach because if you're a guy that can help them do that, they absolutely will respect you in every way, shape that you could ever be respected. But a college player is looking to the coach for the leadership to create the values necessary to be that. And there's a little different spirit, I think, involved in that. And it was great. I loved it for so many years. And I hope that we can come up with some model that can continue to help us be able to do that.
Okay, now I want to recognize Senator Thune, who played basketball in college, and I would not note, despite the fact that he's 6'5", 6'6", he still refuses to play in my weekly hoops game. And
I don't want to get injured.
and there are a lot of injuries, but Senator Thune's.
So how do we create a system that can still preserve that small state yet very competitive team to all the people who really care about that?
Well, we have some similar circumstances in Alabama
Right.
from the standpoint that we don't have any professional teams as well. So, but I do think what we're all searching for is something that is equal in all states. I do think we need some national legislation, and it shouldn't be done state by state. But at the same time, if we revenue shared a certain amount, it would be the same in West Virginia as it would be in Texas or California or Alabama or wherever it would be. And I think that's the issue right now is we don't have that. We have collectives that in some places are raising huge amounts of money.
Right.
And going to compete against people who do not have the same resources
No.
to raise those kind of funds to pay players. So you have a pay-for-play system and a free agency system that has no guidelines. So there's no competitive balance, which is, I think, what you speak to
Right.
about how do we do this in West Virginia. Well, I think there's going to be a lot of places that are going to say that, and you're going to create a caste system where the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer, and eventually the fans will look at it like, I really don't want to watch this game, and I don't think this funding collectives is sustainable. Because eventually people are going to say, I've already had people come to me and say, I don't want to continue to do this because we're paying a player and then the player's not there. He transferred.
Right.
So we don't even get the benefit of watching the player that we were supposed to get to watch. So there's a lot of internal issues right now that I certainly appreciate the fact that there's enough interest here to look into this and try to create some guidelines that'll help us be effective in terms of the future of college athletics and the development of college athletes.
Probably address this issue. So if you just kind of give me the short there on how you think NIL is good for women's sports or how it can be made better.
In my opinion, I think name, image, and likeness has helped female sports more than not. I think that you can see so many female athletes capitalize off of their name, image, and likeness for us in other people that come to my mind, you can use your name, your brand, your social status on social media, and brands want to work with you regardless of how well you're performing at your sport. So I think that the sky's the limit for female athletes when it comes to discussing name, image, and likeness. I do think that there is still gender equity that needs to be talked about, and obviously we are still for pro-female athletes. Within that, I think that there's brands and companies out there that are trying to decrease that by creating NIL, female funds, etc. But I do think that it's been very successful in benefiting a female athlete. Yeah, kind of just talking about what Haley said, I think when NIL did pass, a lot of people didn't think it would benefit the female athlete as well as much as it did. I know that we were talking a lot about going professional, but a lot of people, if you aren't playing women's basketball or let's say you're gymnastics and you don't want to go professional, being able to profit and make as much money as you can in college and be able to create a brand and set yourself up for future, I think is very, very important. Obviously, you don't have, if you are in women's basketball, you don't have that as many opportunities to go pro, and you'll have to go overseas and learn that. So I think within NIL, I think it's honestly has been kind of paved the way by female athletes in a sense. So.
Employee model creates a lot of problems. I mean, one of the things I didn't mention is when I coached in the NFL, wherever we played, we had to file a tax return because we earned money in that place. Well, we're going to have college student athletes do that. I think the revenue share approach, if we could go down that road a little bit further, you can do that without making people employees. And the revenue share then does not impact women's sports. Even though they don't create revenue, you're still going to be able to create opportunities. All right, so it's a more relative approach to how we can move forward. We can make the quality of life better for players. They're not employees. They still have name, image, and likeness opportunities, and the ladies over here, they still can do name, image, and likeness. They still have those opportunities, but it's not going to be created. It's going to be something that they all earned. In other words, I'm not really for collectives, and I respect what these folks over here do, but I think those funds should go to the institution, not to create opportunities. Because, you know, like Greg mentioned, you know, Bryce Young had a Nissan deal that was a national deal. He had a Dr. Pepper deal, it was a national deal. He had a BMW deal, it was a national deal. He earned those. That's what name, image, and likeness was supposed to be. It wasn't supposed to be an opportunity for us to create something that would pay players. And, but because this genie is out of the bottle, we should do something to revenue share and still have those name, image, and likeness opportunities for players who earn that and have that kind of brand.
Well, and Jerry, I will say I appreciate your invoking the wisdom of that great philosopher, Yoda. There is no try, do or do not, and hopefully we can do. Haley, Hannah, any closing thoughts?
I would just say thank you again for having us. I'm grateful to be a part of a conversation to help find a common ground to benefit all student athletes, and looking forward to seeing what comes about it in the coming years. Following Haley, I just think that we're both prime examples of what name, image, likeness can do. Just finding a more seamless system to help a college athlete. I think that's what we're all trying to do here. So we're in favor of that in the college athlete.
I hope that everybody here, certainly the people that are involved in this little debate that we're having here today, which is very positive and very good, realizes how much interest and how many people are concerned about the future of college athletics. You know, I spoke yesterday, Jupiter Island Yacht Club, which they don't even have a dock, but I don't know how it's a yacht club. But all of these folks were former presidents of IBM and CEOs of companies. And the first question I get asked anytime I do a speech and we open it up is, what are we going to do about college athletics? So this is a major concern, because the spirit of college athletics and the opportunities that it's created for so many people for so many years is just, I mean, it's a part of our fiber as a country. And people are definitely concerned about what is the future going to bring because nobody really likes the direction that we're heading in right now. So I certainly appreciate what was done here today by Senator Cruz, Senator Blumenthal, everyone else that's involved in this, Senator Moran. But we need to keep the momentum going to try to make something happen that gives us a viable future to develop young people and continue to create opportunities for that.
If I can close with a very brief, humble brag, college athletics represents the one argument I've won with my wife in 23 years of marriage. And that was when Heidi and I went to the Rose Bowl when Texas was playing USC. And Heidi's a native Californian, and she announced she was going to dress in USC red. And I said, "Sweetheart, I love you, but we will throw you out of the truck." and she decided she didn't care that much about it, and so I dressed my wife in burnt orange head to toe, and we won the national championship. So that was, I'll take one argument victory. Dick, I don't know that you can claim an argument in 23 years, but I have one, and I'm holding on to that one. I appreciate everyone being part of this, and I look forward to the next stage and to hopefully getting the legislation agreed to, passing it, and getting it over the finish line, because then we can go cheer for our respective teams and have all the joys and benefits that college sports brings. Thank you.